Hello, everybody. All right, so here we go. All righty then. So I hope we're at Thursday now, so we're coming down to the end of the week here. Hope everybody's had a good week this week. Um, let's see. As always, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions about it. And I will talk more about what's on tap for tonight when I get back. I'm going to put some music on for you guys, do a couple little things, and then I'll be. Anyways, be right back. All right, I'm back. So hopefully, anyways, I hope you guys will excuse me. Of course, as you can probably tell, I've been sick the last couple of days. So, but anyways, just give me a sec here. Alright, so with that being said, then, here's what's on tap for tonight, guys. Since there's not really a whole lot going on in the world of niche, what I'm going to do tonight is we're going to take a look back at one of the cartoon studios of the past. Some of you might remember growing up, watching watching some of these watching some of the colored Popeye cartoons, some of the Harvey tunes like Casper the Friendly Ghost, Baby Huey. Inu is with us all. All right. Hey, Jr. Anyways, so as I said, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, help then we can get some more friendly people in here. Also, feel free to comment and or ask questions on anything we talk about. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So tonight we're going to look back at famous studios. Going to look back at their history a little bit. Many of you might remember watching some of the syndicated some of the syndicated cartoons, including some of the earlier colored colored versions of Popeye. Let's see. Let's see. After Popeye, let's see. Casper the Friendly Ghost, Little Audrey, Baby Huey, Hector and Catnip, Mohair and Tommy Tortoise, among others. So, why don't we go ahead and get started on that? Let's see now. All right, give me one more second. I'm going to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back here. I'll put some music on. All right, I'm back, and I think I did see somebody try to comment there. Okay. Richie Rich, yeah, another one, but Richie Rich came later. Richie Rich, I think, came later. I don't think he was done by Sad Sack. That was awesome Harvey Comics, but I don't think Sad Sack was made into a cartoon. Oh, anyways, here we go. All right, so Famous Studios, renamed Paramount Cartoon Studios in 1956, was the first animation division of the film studio Paramount Pictures from 1942 to 1967. Famous was founded as a successor company to Fleischer Studios. Again, where, as I said, many of the early Popeye cartoons, as well as the early colored versions of the Popeye cartoon, as well as Superman, they had taken over Superman right around 42. The second season of those shorts. Let's see. Famous was founded as a successor company to Fleischer Studios after Paramount seized control of the aforementioned studio after the departure of its founders, Max and Dave Fleischer. In 1942, the studio's productions included 3 series started by Fleischer's: Popeye the Sailor, Superman, and Screen Songs, as well as Little Audrey, Little Lulu, Casper the Friendly Ghost, Honey Half-Witch, Herman and Catnip, Baby Huey, and the anthology novel tune series. Excuse me again. Man, this nose of mine. Excuse me again. One more time. All right, hopefully that will fix that. Anyways, getting back to the I guess article is a way you could say it. The Famous name was previously used by Famous Players Film Company. One of several companies which in 1912 became Famous Players Lasky Corporation. The company which founded Paramount Pictures. Paramount's music publishing branch which held the rights to all of the original music in Fleischer and famous cartoons, was named Famous Music. And a movie theater chain in Canada owned by Paramount was called Famous Players. That's interesting. Let's see now. The library of Famous Studios cartoons is currently divided between three separate film studios via various subsidiaries. Paramount Pictures, which owns both the pre-October 1950 and post-March 1962 cartoons. I'm guessing that's like Popeye, among others. Universal Pictures and DreamWorks Animation through DreamWorks Classics, aka Classic Media, LLC, which owns the cartoons made between October 1950 and March 1962 under Harvey Entertainment. And Warner Brothers through Turner Entertainment and DC Comics, which owns the entirety of both Superman and Popeye cartoons. Fleischer Studios dissolution. So we're going to get into the history here of Famous Studios. Again, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything catches your attention here. Fleischer Studios was a successful animation studio responsible for producing cartoon shorts starring characters such as Betty Boop and Popeye the Sailor. The studio moved its operations from New York City to Miami, Florida in 1938 following union problems and the start of production on its first feature film, Gulliver's Travels, in 1939. While Gulliver was successful, the expense of the movie and increased overhead costs created finance problems for Fleischer Studios. The studio depended upon advances and loans from its distributor, Paramount Pictures. Which, of course, is how Paramount got into the act, as it were. In order to continue production on its short subjects and to begin work on a second feature, Mr. Bug Goes to Town, compounding the problems the studio was facing was the fact that the studio's co-founders, brothers Max Fleischer and Dave Fleischer, were becoming increasingly estranged, and by this time were no longer speaking to each other due to personal and professional disputes. On May 25, 1941, Paramount assumed full ownership of Fleischer Studios and required the Fleischer brothers to submit signed letters of resignation to be used at Paramount's discretion. Following the unsuccessful release of Mr. Bug in December 1941, Max Fleischer, no longer able to cooperate with Dave, sent Paramount a telegram expressing such. Paramount responded by producing the letters of resignation, severing the Fleischer brothers from control of the studio. So anyways, excuse me again, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a real pain trying to do this having a cold. All right. Anyways, continuing on here. Paramount renamed the studio Famous Studios. Although they had ownership of the company, it remained a separate entity. Three top Fleischer employees were promoted to run the animation studio. Business manager Sam Buchwald, storyboard artist Isidore Sparber, and Max Fleischer's son-in-law, head animator Seymour Needle. Buchwald assumed Max Fleischer's place as executive producer, while Sparber and Needle shared Dave Fleischer's former responsibilities as supervising producers and directed and credited directors. And that would, of course, continue on well into the 60s. Um, can still see some of their credits on like some of the other like King Feature Syndicate and the like and pop. Let's see. Um, a third animation director, Dan Gordon, remained only briefly before being fired shortly after the move to New York. Although the Fleischers left the studio at the end of 1941, Famous Studios was not officially incorporated until May 25th, 1942, after Paramount's contract with Fleischer Studios had formally run its course. The first Famous Studios cartoon was the Popeye cartoon You're a Sap, Mr. Jap, released on August 7th, 1942. Yes, this was a wartime propaganda. This was a wartime propaganda cartoon, and is actually considered one of the banned cartoons one of the banned cartoons that was taken out of rotation due to its offensive stereotypes of Japanese people. You can still, if you still want to watch it, you can still. I think they still have it on YouTube, among other things. You can still find it on YouTube, but it's basically out of syndicated circulation for the reason I mentioned before. Early years. Shortly after the takeover, Paramount began plans to move a significantly downsized Famous Studios back to New York. A move completed early in 1943. Virtually all of the Famous staff, including voice artist, storyman Jack Mercer, storyman Carl Meyer, and voice artist Mae Quetzel. Jack Mercer, for those of you who may not know, was the guy who took over the voice of Popeye after Billy Costello left Fleischer. I think it was in 1936 or 37, around there, due to a pay dispute. Mae Quetzel was, of course, the woman who would become the longtime voice of Olive Oil. She was Olive Oil from about this time through the 60s. She'd even auditioned for Popeye, the all new Popeye Comedy Hour, but lost out to Marilyn Scherber, I guess, or Marilyn Shape. And animators such as Myron Waldman, David Tendlar, Thomas Johnson, Nicholas Tafuri, and Al Euchster were holdovers from the Fleischers era. These artists remained with Famous Paramount for much of the studio's existence. As at Fleischer, the head animators carried out the tasks that were assigned to animation directors at other studios, while the credited directors, Needle, Sparber, Gordon, and Disney Terrytoons veteran Bill Titla acted more as supervisors. Sammy Timberg served as musical director until he was succeeded in 1944 by Winston Sharples, who formerly worked with Van Buren Studios. Van Buren Studios was the studio that they were around throughout the 20s. I think they had a lot of the Felix the Cat shorts at that time. See where we're at on time here. See if any commented. All right, no, nobody's commented since 21-minute mark. Okay, let's see. Continuing series from the Fleischer period included Popeye the Sailor and Superman, both licensed from popular comics characters, which we know this to be true. The expensive Superman cartoons, having lost their novelty value with exhibitors, ended production in 1943. So the Superman cartoons only lasted a couple of years. At least the Fleischer Famous Studios versions of them only lasted a couple of years. A year after Famous inception, they were replaced by a series starring Saturday Evening Post comic strip character Little Lulu. Now, as we've talked about, even on the historical comic retrospect too, at this, again, now granted, comics and animated shorts did have their connections here, and as we talked about with comics, at least, that was a common ploy for a lot of the anthology series, particularly early on, which they would just, they do a lot of the newsprint, the newsprint reprints. They just reprint what was in the newspapers. Also in 1943, Famous began producing the formerly black and white Popeye cartoons in Technicolor and began a new series of one-shot cartoons under the umbrella title Noveltoons. Similar in respects to Color Classic series from Famous Studios and also Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies from Warner Brothers. Basically, kind of a hodgepodge variety type cartoon series. The Noveltoons series introduced several popular characters, such as Herman and Catnip, Baby Huey, and Casper the Friendly Ghost. Casper was created by writer Seymour Rhett and famous animator Joe Oriolo in the late 1930s as a children's book manuscript and was sold to Famous during World War II. It became the studio's most successful wholly owned property. In other words, what I believe that means is that Casper the Friendly Ghost basically became the top cartoon they produced that was by them. It wasn't something that had been previously owned by somebody else. It was something that's wholly theirs. In 1947, Paramount decided to stop paying Little Lulu creator Margie licensing royalties and created another mischievous girl character, Little Audrey, as a replacement. The same year, Famous resurrected an old Fleischer series, Screen Songs, introduced a new series of musical cartoons featuring a bouncing ball sing-along. You guys remember that, right? They'd have the little, I don't know if you guys ever saw those. I've seen a few of those where they, what they do is that, you could sing along with the cartoon. They'd have the lyrics up and they'd have the bouncing ball kind of tell you where the lyrics were. And, in 1951, the Screen Songs became cartoon musical shorts. Cartoon spelled in this case Kartune, not as we know it today is Cartoon, which ended in 1953 after Max Fleischer claimed ownership of the bouncing ball trademark. Only 2 more musical cartoons were released as one-shot novel tunes, 1954's Candy Cabaret and 1963's Hobo's Holiday. Although the studio still carried much of the staff from previous regime, animation fans and historians note that its films diverged from the previous style. Many of them, including animation historian and film critic Leonard Maltin, derided the company's style for being highly formulaic and largely oriented toward a children's audience, with none of the artistic ambition or sophistication that the management under the Fleischer brothers strove for. Yeah, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, though. In other words, what he's saying is that they deride them for basically making them kids' cartoons, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Kids should have their own set of entertainment too. Later period and sales of cartoon libraries. So let's see if anybody's saying anything yet. Also, see what time it is. Let's see. 27. So we're making good time then. All right. So Sam Buchwald, later period and sales of cartoon libraries. Sam Buchwald died of a heart attack in 1951. Seymour Needle and Isidore Sparber became the production heads of the studio shortly afterward, and Dave Tendler was promoted to director in 1953. The mid and late 1950s brought a number of significant changes to famous studios. In 1955, Paramount sold most of its 1942 to 1950 shorts and cartoons, except for the Popeye and Superman shorts, to UM&M TV Corporation for television distribution. The Popeye cartoons were acquired by Associate Artists Production, AAP, which many of you might remember seeing those too, those credits too, the AAP credits, and you'd have Popeye, Wimpy, and Olive usually in there. And Superman cartoons had already reverted to Superman owners National Comics after the studio's film rights to the character had expired. On October 1st, 1956, Famous Studios was downsized and reorganized. Paramount assumed full control of the studio, integrating it as a division named Paramount Cartoon Studios. Around the same time, Isidore Sparra was fired, leaving Seymour Needle alone in charge of the studio. In addition, because of studio budget cuts, the animation quality of the shorts began to drop sharply. By 1959, everything that the studio was turning out began to look bizarrely cheap and limited. Paramount also ceased using Technicolor by the time in favor of for cheaper color processes. The last famous studio short to use Technicolor was Catnip's Big Day, the finale of the Herman and Catnip cartoon series. Basically, Herman and Catnip, for those who may not know, talking versions of, might say they're talking counterparts of Tom and Jerry, basically. Catnip the cat and Herman the mouse. I believe it was Sid Raymond who also, who did the voice of Catnip, also did the voice of Baby Huey. Despite the studio submitting some of their shorts for Academy Award consideration, None received a nomination. So Paramount seemed to be hitting on hard times, then, didn't it? Paramount sold its remaining cartoon film library and the rights to its established characters to Harvey Comics in 1959. However, the final theatrical cartoon to have any of their established characters already acquired by Harvey Comics since was Turtle Scoop featuring Tommy Tortoise and Mohair, both uncredited and redrawn in 1961. Paramount's attempts at creating replacement characters, among them Jeepers and Creepers and the Cat, proved unsuccessful. Nonetheless, television animation production outsourced from King Features and Harvey Films brought the company additional income. Ironically, so I guess at this point, King Features and Harvey Comics were still allowing famous Paramount cartoon studios to use their characters and to come up with animated cartoons for them. At least that's what it sounds like here. Ironically, these arrangements had Paramount working on new television cartoons starring Casper, whom they had already created, and Popeye and Little Lulu, characters they had previously licensed for theatrical cartoons. In the case of King Features, Popeye and King Features trilogy TV cartoons. Yeah, and the King Features Popeye cartoons, that's the one with the little feather at the end, in cursive will go the end, and then it kind of plants itself in the King Features logo. Excuse me one more time here. I'll be right back. Alrighty then, so continue on now here. Let's see now. Let's see. All right, Paramount was one of several animation studios, among them Jack Kinney Productions and Rembrandt Films, to which King Features subcontracted production. The first of only two all-new Little Lulu cartoons after the character's 13-year hiatus off-screen, Alvin's Solo Flight was released as part of a Noveltoon series in 1961, while 12 of the King Features trilogy cartoons, starring characters such as Crazy Cat, Little Lulu, Beetle Bailey, and Snuffy Smith, were released theatrically by Paramount in 1962. under the title Comic Kings. Seymour Needle died of a heart attack in 1964. And Paramount brought in comic book veteran Howard Post to run the cartoon studio. Under Post's supervision, Paramount began new cartoon series and characters such as Swifty and Shorty and Honey Halfwitch, the latter having originated from the modern Madcap series, which was a part of the, in 1965, short Poor Little Witch Girl. And allowed comic strip artist Jack Mendelson, or Mendelssohn, to direct two well-received cartoons based upon children's imaginations and drawing styles, The Story of George Washington and A Leak in the Dixie, both 1965. However, Post left the studio due to internal conflicts with Paramount staff. His replacement was Seamus Culhane, a veteran of Fleischer Studios. Culhane completed a few films that Post started and then ignored the rulebook and made films that were very different from the previous regime. In 1966, the studio subcontracted the Mighty Thor cartoons from Grant Way Lawrence Animation. Grant Way Lawrence, a reminder to you guys, was the company that gave us, of course, the 1967 Spider-Man series, and the year before would be the company that gave us the Marvel superhero series. Mighty Thor was one of the segments on that show. The segments also included Captain America, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, and Namor, the Submariner. So, producers of the animated television series, the Marvel Superheroes. In 1967, Culhane directed another short based upon children's art, My Daddy the Astronaut, which became Paramount's first film to be shown at an animation festival. However, when Paramount's board of directors rejected a proposal to produce episodes for a second Grant Way Lawrence series, Spider-Man, Culhane quit the studio and was succeeded by former Terry Toons animator Ralph Bakshi in mid-1967. Although Bakshi quickly put several experimental shorts into production, by the winter of 1968, Paramount's new owners, Gulf Western, had began the process of shutting down the animation studio, a task completed in December. The last cartoon from Paramount Cartoon Studios, Mousetrek, the finale of the Fractured Fable series, premiered in December 31st, 1967. So, all right, so there's the history of it. And I'll go through this as well real quick. Just give me a sec. Got to go off camera one more time. Sorry about this. Hey, Intense Webs. Thanks for stopping in. If you can like and share the stream, that'd be appreciated. See if we can get some more friendly people in here. Also, if I do thank you for the like. It looks like you already gave a like. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Anyways, I do need to go off camera here one more time. Sorry about this. All right, let's see now. Howdy, howdy. All right, so anyways, I'll try to brace it because we're already at the 40-minute mark, so I should probably be getting ready to wind things down a bit here. But anyway, so Intense Webs, I know you just got here, so what we're doing, we're just going over the kind of the history and legacy of famous studios, famous, the cartoon studio that gave us like Casper the Friendly Ghost, a number of the Harvey Toons properties in animated form, and Popeye and all that. So here we go. So their legacy. Here's the legacy of famous studios right here. Despite the reputation of the studio in recent years, their shorts have since gained a cult following on both public domain home media and in animation circles. The 1961 short, Abner, the Baseball, is displayed at the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ownership and licensing. Throughout the 1950s, most of the major Hollywood studios severely underestimating the value of their back catalog, sold off their film libraries to various television companies. In the case of Paramount, throughout the decade, they sold off the famous studio's library to various different TV syndication companies, resulting in multiple studios owning different cartoons. Let's see, UM&M TV Corporation. In January 1956, Paramount sold the pre-October 1950 Fleischer and Famous Studio cartoons, including the Popeye and Superman cartoons, mind you, to UM&M TV Corporation for $3 million. In 1957, UM&M was bought out by National Telefilm Associates, NTA. In the 1980s, NTA changed its name to Republic Pictures. After a brief period of ownership by Spelling Entertainment in 1994, Republic Pictures was purchased by Paramount's parent company, Viacom, in 1996, placing the shorts back in Paramount's control. Republic Pictures was renamed Manga Pictures LLC in 2013. Due to poor attention to the then required copyright renewals over the decades, many of the cartoons are now in the public domain. So what they're saying now is that's why you can see a lot of those pre-October, a lot of the Popeye and Superman cartoons and famous studios cartoons from prior to the reason you can watch those is because they're now in public domain. Popeye and Superman. In June 1956, Paramount sold the entirety of the Fleischer Famous Popeye cartoons from 1933 to 1957 to Associated Artists Productions, AAP, as we talked about before, which had also recently purchased much of Warner Brothers' back catalog for $1.25 million. The assets of AAP were in turn purchased by United Artists in 1958. In 1981, United Artists merged with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, to form MGM UA. In 1986, Ted Turner's Turner Broadcasting System attempted to acquire MGM UA, but due to debt concerns, Turner was forced to sell the company back to its original owner, Kirk Kerkorian. However, Turner kept most of the pre-May 1986 MGM library, as well as a few portions of the artist library, including the former AAP library, and formed his own company, Turner Entertainment, to manage the rights. In 1996, Turner Broadcasting merged with Time Warner, now Warner Brothers Discovery, Since then, Warner Brothers controls the rights to Popeye cartoons via the Turner Entertainment division. As per their original contract, the rights to the Superman cartoons reverted to National Comics after Paramount's deal expired in 1947. While the cartoons themselves are now in public domain after their original copyrights were not renewed, the ancillary rights are still owned by DC Comics and are distributed by Warner Brothers, who has owned DC since 1969. Like 4 years before they came out with a Super Friends cartoon. That was actually Hanna-Barbera. Oh, sorry. Harvey Comics and Harvey Entertainment. In July 1958, Paramount sold off Famous Studios cartoons made between October 1950 and March 1962, as well as the rights to all original characters created by Famous Studios, which were, of course, Casper, Baby Huey, Herman and Catnip, Little Audrey, etc., to Harvey Comics for $1.7 million, and in turn created Harvey Entertainment to handle the rights and rebranded the cartoons as Harvey Toons. The deal also gave ABC television distribution rights to the cartoons for the next 30 years. That's how in the early 80s there, how you had like the new Casper cartoon. I think Richie Rich was on ABC. Casper and the Angels. The rights reverted back to Harvey in 1989, while Paramount retained theatrical rights. With any films made that were sent to theaters were still handled by Paramount. 2001, Harvey Comics was purchased by the holding company Classic Media. In 2012, Classic Media was purchased by DreamWorks Animation and briefly renamed the company DreamWorks Classics, who now retains ownership of the cartoons. 2016, DreamWorks Animation was purchased by Comcast NBC Universal, with Universal Pictures assuming the distribution of the cartoons on behalf of DreamWorks. However, while NBC Universal and DreamWorks Animation own the bulk of the rights to the Harvey Toons catalog, as per their original 1958 contract, Paramount still retains theatrical rights to the cartoons and thus also controls the original camera negatives. However, the contract also stipulates that Harvey, and by extension DreamWorks and NBC Universal, are allowed to access the original film elements from Paramount whenever they feel they need to update their prints. Post-March 1962, Paramount continues to own the rights to the cartoons made after 1962. And I'll skip the home media aspect of it, but the filmography here. So these are some of the theatrical short subjects. Popeye, the 1933-1957 Popeye the Sailor, which were, of course, inherited from Fleischer Studios. Superman, 1941-1943, inherited from Fleischer Studios. Novel Tunes, 1943-1967. Little Lulu, which was inherited from after their studio went defunct. Screen Songs, which was originally produced by Fleischer Studios. Little Audrey, Baby Huey, Casper the Friendly Ghost. A lot of these were cartoons that were made throughout the 50s, some of them a little earlier, obviously. Herman and Catnip, Cartoons, Kartunes. Tiny Tortoise and Mohair, Modern Madcats. Jeepers and Creepers, which were part of the Modern Madcap series. The Cat, part of the Abner the Baseball, a two-reeler special, Comet King, Swifty and Shorty, Honey Half Witch, Nudnik, produced by Gene Deitch in Czechoslovakia. Merrymakers, Go-Go Tunes, Fractured Fables, some of the TV series that came from them included segments of the 1958 to 1962 Felix the Cat Show, outsourced from Joe Oriolo Productions and Translux. Maddie's Fun Day Funnies, segments of the 1960s, early 60s Popeye the Sailor, as well as King Features trilogies when King Features outsourced the new Casper, the Casper cartoon show, and the Mighty Thor segments of. That's pretty much it for that. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Let's see now. Oh, we have some more commentary here. Let's see. Jason. What's your favorite Utut Canada? I have no idea. Let's see. What's your favorite low harm? Don't know. Oh boy. So anyways, so we're now at 52-minute mark here, so I guess we're time to wind down a little bit. Go kind of real quickly over some wrestling stuff. Again, not a whole lot was going on. I guess I can just go over the AEW results from last night. AEW Dynamite had excuse me one more time here. Hold on. Need to go off camera here one more time here. All right, let's see now. Inu, bless you. Yeah, all right. Anyways. All right. So, anyways, last night's Dynamite. Let's see a few matches, and the main event saw Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshi get the win over Butcher and the Blade. Jade Cargill, unfortunately, retained the AEW World or AEW TBS title over Taya Valkyrie. That was a shame. Sammy Guevara defeated Darby Allin by DQ, and right now Sammy Guevara is set up for to be the one to face MJF. To set up MJF to face MJF at Double or Nothing for the AEW World Title. But there's some speculation that Tony Khan might actually make that into a four-way now, fearing that MJF is going to follow through and just have Sammy lie down for him so Sammy can take a main event payday. So Wardlow squashed Ariel Levy. Jeff Jarrett defeated Dax Harwood, and Orange Cassidy retained the international title over Bandito. So there we go with that. So now we're going to start to wrap things up by taking a look back to this day in each history. History! In 2018. Okay. Today is Thursday, April 27th, 2022 or 2023. So let's take a look back at this day in each history. First off, we're going to head back 30 years ago, as on this date 30 years ago today. Marvel Comics, Barbie Fashion, the 30th issue of Barbie Fashion went on sale on this date back in 1993, 30 years ago today. So 30 years ago today, 30th issue of Barbie Fashion went on sale from Marvel Comics. Sold for $1.25 and had a 32-page count there. Yes, they did decide to make comics about Barbie. So there we go. Anyways, getting ready to move on to the next piece of niche history as we go back to 1998 now. As on this date in 1998, the night after the In Your House pay-per-view event, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Hampton Coliseum in Hampton, Virginia. In the main event, Steve Austin and the went to a no contest with the artist formerly known as Goldust in a WWF Championship match with Gerald Briscoe as the special guest referee. As part of the NWA angle, Barry Windham lost to Undertaker in just under a minute. The Disciples of Apocalypse of Animal, Chains, Hawk, and Sunny defeated the New Age Outlaws. Disciples of Apocalypse of 8 Ball and Skull with the Road Warriors, Chains, and Sunny in their corner defeated the New Age Outlaws of Billy Gunn and Road Dogg with China, Triple H, and X-Pac in their corner. The Headbangers defeated. The Headbangers went to a no contest with Terry Funk and Too Cold Scorpio, and then another match that went to a no contest. Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart battled the Nation members Mark Henry and The Rock to a no contest. So a lot of no contests that night. Oh, there we go with that one. Excuse me one more sec here. All right, so with that, we have one more piece in each history to get through. On this date, 5 years ago today, the 200th episode of The Simpsons. I'm sorry, no, not that. On this date, 5 years ago today, The Simpsons broke the record for being the longest-running American primetime TV series, surpassing Gunsmoke. So on this date, 5 years ago today, The Simpsons broke the record for being the longest-running primetime TV show, surpassing Gunsmoke. So there we go. There we go with that. All right. Well, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope I'll be over this cold. Be better tomorrow. As I do have Tim Olson coming in to co-host with me for our weekly historical comic retrospect. Looking back, continuing our look back to October 1939. So I hope to see everybody here tomorrow. Bye.